You're not a fucking hero. You're just an annoying clown dressed up as a sex toy. Oh, yes. And by the way, just a little warning, there might be a language issue during this podcast in case you haven't figured that out, because we are discussing Deadpool 2 here on Couch Potato Theater on the Fandom Podcast Network. My name is Kevin. I'll be your host, but I've got some awesome guests I need to bring in here right now. First of all, with me always is my co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network. I'd like to welcome Mr. Kyle Wagner. What's going on, buddy?
Hi, Yukio. Kevin, I just want to say, what does it feel like to be the Mohinder to my Wade?
Man, I just want to become a contract killer like you, man. So
this is going to be fun. We are deep diving into Marvel, which of course is one of my big wheelhouses, and of course it is Deadpool. I'd be remiss, if you don't mind, Kevin. I really want to do this. I just want to give a shout out to our good friend Kat, who would be here if all the powers let him. But we are thinking of you, buddy. We will hopefully be seeing you when we talk about the movie itself. But I've got
some words from Kat about this. Kat, of course, is one of my best friends in the world, longtime friends, biggest Deadpool fan. Couldn't make it. He's recovering from surgery right now, but I do have some thoughts from him. So yes,
we have some guests, and one looks pretty interesting, Kevin.
Yeah, well, first of all, I was gonna usually Lacey, our co-host from Time Warp, is gonna be with us, but apparently we've got Lacey Pool. What's up?
Or Dead Pants, even.
Yeah.
Can you breathe in that thing?
My voice.
Wait, Lacey, you're supposed to take a bag of cocaine and slip it under your mask and then press in.
Ooh, it is a lot under there. Goodness gracious.
Welcome, Lacey, to Deadpool 2. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
That mask did not look comfortable at all.
It's not bad. I just need to get one of those like grate for underneath it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it doesn't have anything for the ears, so it's just real echoey in there. So I couldn't hear whether you were. Yeah, it was very exciting.
It's okay to leave it off for the rest of the show, but feel free to don it at a particular time if you're up for it. So
I will definitely be putting it on at some later date. I don't know if I'll use it at Dragon Con or something, but it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we would like you to have oxygen during the podcast.
Yeah.
Yes. Could you actually hear me say, is this mask muffling my...
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? We're not done. We're not done with guests, guys. And I'm very excited because we have with us from Texas, David Lozano, the host of Star Wars Stuff podcast. Apparently, dude, you're a Deadpool fan. Welcome.
Yeah, man. I am a huge Deadpool fan. I don't have as many collectibles and memorabilia, but I truly do love the Deadpool franchise, and I think it's, for everyone that talks about it, I believe it's under-talked about, under-celebrated, underrated, and I just felt that I had to be on this podcast to talk about Deadpool 2 because it's just not talked about enough around me. It feels very much like one of those 80s franchises that when we were kids we would all kind of talk about and just talk about in the schoolyard and on the bus, and that's how great this franchise is, and especially Deadpool 2. A fantastic sequel, and I just want to say it's time to make the fucking chimichangas.
Yeah! What's funny is Kyle and I have a segment on our Culture Clash called Lost in Oblivion, where we bring out a film that should be talked about more, and you've hit on some points there about this film because people remember it. It's important for many reasons, and we'll get into that. And of course, we're going to talk about the end credit scene for this one because we also want to let people know too that not only we're doing a little retrospective on Deadpool movies overall, but we're also going to be giving our thoughts and have a little Deadpool and Wolverine preview coming up. Kyle.
Come on, say it right, Kevin. It is officially Deadpool month here at the Fandom Podcast Network.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us, Kyle, what do we got going on?
Of course, Deadpool, possibly still the most popular comic franchise character going right now. We are looking at a very important film with Deadpool and Wolverine coming out here very shortly at the end of the month. It's the Merc with a mouth. Deadpool. This is a movie, truthfully, that a lot of people don't even think should have existed if not for Ryan Reynolds somehow managing to specially leak out test footage from when he did Deadpool, and it just started from there. And I mean, it's made by Ryan Reynolds' career. He's probably the most popular character outside of maybe Spider-Man as far as just known superheroes right now. Incredibly popular in the comics with live action films. You've seen him in some animated stuff. And it's just it's all about the pool right now, and that means chimichangas. That means Happy Secretary's Day, Kevin. I know that's your favorite holiday.
You mentioned it is Deadpool month here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We re-released our version or our Deadpool Couch Potato Theater that we did for Valentine's Day last year. So that's up on the feed. It's fresh. Go check it out. But Kyle, we have a very actually 2 weeks from today of this recording, we're going to be doing a live Deadpool and Wolverine reaction show on Sunday, July 28th. Tell us more about what we're going to be doing there, Kyle.
We're going to be giving our reactions to everything that we could be seeing in Deadpool and Wolverine, which if you go by what we're hearing is going to be quite a bit. Of course, the one thing with Deadpool movies, though, is they did a pretty good job of keeping a lot of secrets to what was going to be in Deadpool 2. And, there could be some misinformation here. There could not be. You don't necessarily trust what Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman put out there saying.
Well, we'll spill it all on this show. And this is our True Believers is going to be returning, our podcast on the Fandom Podcast Network, calling all of the MCU. And now that we know that in trailers that he's Marvel Jesus. So, yes.
Well, I mean, not only is he Marvel Jesus, right now, let's be honest. It might be Deadpool saves the MCU. There's a lot of people who feel that way.
That's a good point. Good point. Well, we did want to mention too, of course, that's going to be a live show on the 28th of July here on 2024. Make sure you check us out on that. We did want to tease. We have been busy on Couch Potato Theater and the Fandom Podcast Network. Recently, we had Roadhouse celebrating its anniversary from 1989, and we had co-star of the film Anthony DeLongis, friend of the network, come on and talk about his experience on that. We also did Couch Potato Theater The Losers, which came out in 2010, and we recently just released The Mummy, celebrating its anniversary, came out in 1999. And Kyle, you just hosted Rad, our BMX Couch Potato Theater.
Yeah, I hosted that with a thunder in my heart, ready to break some ice.
And
there might have been some bicycle boogie in that podcast.
It's true.
Just saying.
And to tease, in a few weeks, we're going to be talking Couch Potato Theater Edge of Tomorrow. It is celebrating its 10th anniversary. It came out in 2014, otherwise known as Live, Die, Repeat. So
we are relaunching our year of time travel as part of that too here at the Podcast Network.
Yeah. Love time travel.
We are celebrating Deadpool 2, of course, guys, and we're really excited about this. But before we get into Deadpool 2, guys, we need to talk a little bit of end of Deadpool 1. We had a very funny end credit scene of Deadpool 1, where, of course, Mr. Deadpool comes out. And there's nice pictures. You got the 4K there and the Blu-ray, Lacey? Is that what you got?
Yes.
Nice. Yes. Very nice. We had, of course, Ryan Reynolds as Mr. Deadpool, spoofing the famous scene that we see at the end of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And he says, "You're still here? It's over. Go home," he says as he gets closer to the camera. "Oh, you're expecting a teaser for Deadpool 2. Well, we don't have that kind of money. We have no idea who we're going to cast yet, but it could be anyone." And of course, they're talking about Cable, says Deadpool teases, "but we need a big guy with a flat top. Mel Gibson, Dolph Lundgren, Keira Knightley. She's got range." And then Deadpool then tells the audience to not leak the end credit scene. It's a total dick move. Then, of course, he turns away from the camera, starts walking away. So what are you expecting Samuel Jackson to show up with an eye patch? So, guys, this is where it was a very smart move to say, first of all, we're doing a sequel. But not only that, we're telling you who's going to be in it. David, I want to start with you. When you remember seeing that end credit scene for the first time and you knew that, well, if we do see a sequel, which is a pretty good chance, we were going to see this guy, Cable.
Yeah, I want to say that we kind of knew at that point that it was going to be Cable. Doesn't he say in the end credit? He mentions Cable.
Yeah,
okay,
he
so
mentions Cable, yeah.
Right. So who was going to be Cable? So he mentions Keira Knightley. So I thought there was actually a decent chance that we very well might get Keira Knightley up in there. But I remember some of the actors out there actually were vying for it. I remember Stephen Lang from Avatar was posting on his social media like, "Yeah, Cable, I'm in." And I'm paraphrasing, but I thought he would be a cool option. But of course, we all know who they went with. But I remember there was kind of like a Deadpool type of scenario to figure out who was going to be cast, and I was like, oh my gosh, after watching that first movie, I was like, there is no way that Hollywood is going to deny them a sequel. So we knew the sequel was coming. It was just a matter of how long we were going to wait. And of course, yeah, we got Cable. And I knew a little bit about Cable, and I think after X-Men 97, everyone kind of knows Cable's backstory and kind of gets it now. But yeah, man, as a kid watching X-Men, Cable was one of my favorites when I actually did a deep dive into the comics, and I was like, wow, this is a super interesting story. And they do go into specifics a little bit in Deadpool 2, and he's just such a cool character. And with Josh Brolin playing him, I mean, just fantastic casting. Josh Brolin got totally jacked for the role. It's incredible. He's an older guy, too, and he pulled it off, man. I mean, to be Thanos and Cable in essentially the Marvel Universe, it was just fantastic. I loved it.
Well, I wanted to give a little backstory on Cable because I'd only known who Cable was through my buddy Kyle because I didn't read the comics. And Kyle, I want you to expand on this. But known as Nathan Summers, the X-Men character was introduced in 1990 and is the son of Cyclops and a Jean Grey clone named Madeline Pryor. Cable was created as the leader of the New Mutants, a group of X-Men teens. Think of him as the Charles Xavier type character, you know, the leader of the X-Men. The big thing with Cable is that he, in addition to telekinesis, he can time travel. And according to Deadpool creator Rob Liefeld, Brad Pitt was originally supposed to play Cable in Deadpool 2. Kyle, your thoughts on first hearing that it was confirmed that we were getting Cable?
Okay, first of all, you can't have Deadpool and not have Cable at some point. Those two characters have been intertwined since the moment they were introduced. Cable premiered in an issue of New Mutants, and the following issue was the first appearance of Deadpool, and they indicated then that Deadpool and Cable had a long intertwined history, and it's only grown throughout the history of the Marvel Universe in the comic book format.
Gotcha. Lacey, your thoughts on figuring out, oh, it is real. We are getting not only Cable, but Josh Brolin, not just Thanos.
You know, it's funny because I like you, I didn't really know a lot of the comics. I had seen a few of them here and there from just, you know, around that, you know. But so when he said at the end of Deadpool, when he said, you know, getting Cable, you know, potentially Keira Knightley and all this kind of stuff, I immediately went and, you know, internet looking for any sort of different versions of Cable to see if there was a possibility that we could do a gender bent one, because Keira Knightley, that'd be real. I mean, when you think about it, that'd be hilarious and amazing because she's known for, like, I mean, she does a lot of her own stunts. She's done a lot of, you know,
she has range.
Yeah, she has range. Yeah. And then once it became Josh Brolin, you know, then it was, okay, so now here's the question we know eventually Deadpool's going to fold into the MCU. So now you've got all the Thanos references. And then on top of that, you're going to have, you know, so it's interesting to see. I'm interested to see how this third one coming up is going to fold. It's going to be interesting.
I'm glad you brought that up because, and Kyle, feel free to expand on this, but, you know, we're going to go into it, but there was a Deadpool 2 supercut. I hope we get a supercut of this one after the initial release. Kyle?
I just want to tell everybody, if you're kind of wondering about how they're going to fold Deadpool into the MCU, if you've watched the trailer, you see the mentions of the TVA. If you have not watched Loki yet, I suggest you go watch Loki so you can get at least an idea of what the TVA is, because this is going to be real important come this movie and what's going to be happening in this film. So I just want to throw that out. When we get into our explanation and talking about our hopes for Deadpool Wolverine later, I'll expand more into that. But for right now, if you haven't watched Loki season 1 and season 2, you need to go watch it before you watch Deadpool and Wolverine.
All right. Well, as we always like to do, let's get into, as I call it, the IMDb, possibly vague, not always spot on plot description for Deadpool 2. Okay. All right, here we go. After losing Vanessa, the love of his life, fourth wall breaking mercenary Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, must assemble a team and protect a young mutant, Russell Collins, aka Fire Fist, from Josh Cable Brolin, a no-nonsense, dangerous cyborg from the future, and must also learn the most important lesson of all: to be part of a family again. I got to say, they nailed it. That's pretty close. IMDb. Sometimes you're on, sometimes you're not. And I think you're pretty on there. So there you go. A
Hey,
little
Kevin,
bit of information. Yeah.
I am tying in with that, though. I need to know before we continue with this podcast, is your heart in the right place?
I ask myself that quite a lot. Yes. If we could turn back time. Okay, sorry. Anyway, release date was May 10th, 2018, in Leicester Square, London, and then May 18th in the United States. Leicester Square in London is a very special place for me. I'm just going to say it's where I first met my wife. Anyway, running time is 120 minutes, the regular cut. The super duper cut was 2 hours and 14 minutes. And then the, as we'll get into in a moment, the Once Upon a Deadpool was it an hour and 50 minutes? I think it was. I can't remember. Anyway, the budget was 110 million. Box office worldwide was 785 million. Deadpool grossed 324 million in the States and Canada and 460 million in other territories. Deadline Hollywood calculated the net profit of the film to be 235 million when you factor all the expenses, marketing, revenue, and all that kind of stuff. And it was the 7th most profitable release in 2018. All right, guys, I want to ask you, first of all, when you first saw it, when did you first see this film, and how did you watch it recently? David, I want to start with you, sir.
So I believe I saw this film probably on that Thursday before the advertised release date. And I think it was during the day. It might have been like around 3 p.m., 7 p.m., somewhere around there. Because once they started that whole thing, I definitely just started watching all the Marvel movies around those times, the day before the actual publicized release date. I don't know if I'm coming in all choppy here, but yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. I had such a great experience watching the first Deadpool. And I told my wife this was a rom-com because the Nicholas Sparks advertising for Deadpool, I showed all that stuff to my wife, so she was convinced. So that was our Valentine's date. So
smooth move, well done.
Luckily, she had a great time at Deadpool. We laughed. The theater, the crowd for Deadpool films are fantastic. It's like the old school crowd that I think back in the 90s and 80s you'd go to, and it would just be like everyone's like chill, everyone's laughing. And every Deadpool movie, the two that have been out, the crowds have been fantastic. But for the second one, I believe I watched it on a Thursday. Then I think I watched it again on the weekend because, of course, I totally loved it. I mean, the new cast with Zazie Beetz and Josh Brolin. I was very curious how they're going to pull all that off, but I knew the jokes and everything were going to be fantastic. So. Yeah, gotcha. I saw it to answer your question. Yeah.
Did you stream it recently, or do you have it on Blu-ray? How'd you watch it recently?
So yeah, I bought it on the I guess the Apple Store. So I have the Apple ecosystem. So I bought it there. I don't think I have the Blu-ray or the 4K, but yeah, I definitely had to have it in some type of platform, of course. But yeah, and it's one that I rewatch a whole lot. It's in 4K on Apple. It's in HDR. I have it on my MacBook right now. But
all right, Lacey, what about you? When did you do you make it a habit like Kyle and I to try to watch these opening weekend, all these Marvel / superhero films?
Yes. Back then I was still back then I still had a friend in the film industry, like in the theater industry. So I got to see it probably a week and a half before it came out. Just at like 3:00 in the morning, as soon as the theater shut down, she would bring me in the side door and we'd go up and watch it. And then I saw it, like David was saying, ever since they started doing Thursday releases, I have a tendency to try and get the first show. So
because you don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because people are jerks. Just in general, like you can't. If I go to anything that's not the first show, I literally walk in like la 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 la, because people are in their own worlds. They don't think about All right. And then recently, I just invaded my my collection here.
That's the exact same collection I have. I love it. You got the Once Upon a Deadpool, the regular version, and then you got the super duper cut. Yeah.
Oh wait, I don't know. I don't have I mean, I have it. I don't know where I put the 4K. Oh well, that's here somewhere.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Kyle, what about you? Opening weekend, I assume, right? And then you watch it recently?
First showing the Thursday that it happened. Come on now, you know me in Marvel movies. The only one I didn't do that with was Ant-Man Quantumania because I had COVID. No, this.
Wait a minute. Was it that? I thought it was Black Widow.
No, it was Ant-Man Quantumania. I had COVID and couldn't see it.
Okay.
Opening week no, I mean it's Deadpool. It's Ryan Reynolds. It's Deadpool. You had to be there opening night because it was the place to be. I mean, Deadpool is a cultural phenomenon. Now, as far as most recently, I did watch it in my Apple ecosystem, the super duper cut in beautiful 4K with Dolby Atmos, and it was a beautiful thing. But I also now I haven't got a chance to rewatch this because it's been a while, but I do have this on physical media. One of the few things I still have on physical media, the Once Upon a Deadpool, because that had you can't find this streaming anywhere. This is one of those things that isn't.
It did come with a digital copy, though.
It did come with a digital copy, but that was only for Movies Anywhere, which is.
Yeah.
So, but I did rewatch it just yesterday on the super duper cut, which is the way to watch this movie.
Good, nice. I did the same. I watched this when it first came out, first showing, whatever the first showing was on that Thursday. And obviously saw it more than once. And, when the Once Upon a Deadpool came out, did the same thing, got it as soon as it was available on home video as well. But let's get into the general movie discussion here, guys. And I want to start off, first of all, as we mentioned at the top of the show, my very good, one of my oldest friend, Cat Cedar, biggest Deadpool fan that I know. He has a couple of Deadpool tattoos. He is recovering from surgery. He couldn't make this podcast, but he did do a post for me on my Facebook post. He says, "Remember, F is for family, you fuck." Laugh out loud. I really enjoyed this movie. Getting the team together, watching them all die, laugh out loud, as such they did in the comics too. Kept to their details quite well. Giving all the characters a little more depth made the movie that much more enjoyable for me, as well as a lot of the comic accurate nuances as well. Love seeing the X-Men slowly closing the door after Wade mentioning no other X-Men. Just in all, without having seen it again, I really enjoyed it for everything it had. And the best line, I think, was the funniest was, "That's how we do it in Mother Russia." So a special shout out to my good friend Kat there. We miss you, and we hope that hopefully you'll get in there. Another guy commented that too. Some guy named David Lozano said 2 was greatness, underrated and underappreciated. Do you still stand by that, David? I'm going to go, yes, he does. All right. So before we get into it, I want to give you guys a little timestamp here. So this movie comes out, Deadpool 2 comes out in 2018. But in 2017, we had Logan, this other alternate version, if you want to say, maybe, depending on how you look at it, where old Logan and old Professor X, Logan dies. Spoiler alert. Deadpool 2, 2018, released. Opening scene with the dead Logan figure spinning. And, Mr. Deadpool himself breaking the fourth wall. Talks about Logan dying in the previous year. And then it kind of sets up him wanting to die for the reason why we see in the film. I want to kind of get you guys' thoughts on this, that we see Logan die in this film. And if you guys don't remember, both Logan and Professor X both die at the end and are buried in shallow graves. Then we get the opening of this. David, I want to start with you. You're a special guest here. What were your thoughts on that opening scene when you see that little funny, I don't know if it was a music thing or whatever, but it's just like he's slowly turning while he's impaled and he's dead.
Yeah, I was like, that's just badass. That's just par for the course for a Deadpool film. You know, you're gonna get the jabs at Hugh Jackman, the nice friendly jabs, because we all know that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are really close, especially with Deadpool Wolverine coming out. But yeah, that was hilarious, man. To see him stuck through the chest with that log, reminiscent of what we got in Logan. It was fantastic. I loved it.
Lacey, what were your thoughts on that?
Pretty much the same. We know that there's going to be at least, 1 or 2 comments about either Hugh Jackman or Logan or both. He made the comment about how, Logan was riding the coattails because we were R-rated first and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you knew there was going to be some, light.
Glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. So, but it was cool. And I like the spinning, then turned into the spinning over Deadpool on the canisters. So.
What were your thoughts on that, Kyle? Because you and I have talked about Logan a lot when it came out, and I was disappointed in it. I didn't like the way that it ended. It was a bummer. It introduced some cool things about it. But what were your thoughts when Deadpool 2 was like having a little fun with it?
Okay, so first off, I think personally, I was a big fan of Logan, especially because I had read the Old Man Logan story arc, and of course, Marvel knows not to kill off Daphne Keane, but that's a whole other thing. Actually, it's great because it's Ryan Reynolds, it's Hugh Jackman. They are the best of friends, but they also love poking fun at each other. And you knew Ryan Reynolds had even started before this movie came out about wanting, when he heard Logan was supposed to be Hugh Jackman's last time at Wolverine. And then Hugh Jackman kind of dropped a little thing at one point saying, well, Ryan Reynolds might be the only person who could talk me out of this, blah, blah. So it was on then and there. And throughout the movie, whether it's this opening scene, little jabs here and there throughout the movie, and of course when we talk about the end credit sequence later, this is what makes this so great, and that's why I'm so looking forward to Wolverine and Deadpool. It's just these moments, and now we're going to have them so much more intensified, and it's going to be great.
Lacey, you had your hand up. Did you want to make a comment on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the Logan thing. I struggled with it at first. Got the deluxe DVD or Blu-ray, whatever. The black and white version is a whole different experience. So if you get a chance to watch the black and white version of Logan, it just feels like it's an interesting alternative to the original.
I have that version, but I have not rewatched it yet. It's one of those things where I've been meaning to, and I will before the Deadpool and Wolverine movies comes out, because I've actually gone back and started rewatching the X-Men series and kind of getting a feel for how the earlier versions of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine was. And it's been a fun ride, but I will watch that one just because I just want to kind of compare all of the performances and stuff like that. So David, he just lost a little bit of connection. He's going to come back on as soon as he can. Okay, guys, I want to get into a little bit of general discussion about Deadpool 2, but I did want to share an article here that I wanted to kind of get your guys' thoughts on. And this was the inverse.com, and this says Deadpool 2 was the unexpectedly moving response to Avengers Infinity War. The Avengers told a big, unwieldy story about death. Deadpool got intimate about grief. Josh Brolin had a hell of a 2018, didn't he? In late April, he starred in the Avengers Infinity War, a billion-dollar blockbuster that kicked off the summer season on a sour note by killing half of Marvel's superheroes. In the shadow of that was released came another Marvel movie, again with Brolin, that was willing to laugh and cry all about it in Deadpool 2. The first Deadpool was a rom-com in disguise where a super soldier boy meets an escort girl. Deadpool 2 is a family drama about how they deal with death doing them part after a hit leaves Vanessa. And then you got Deadpool, who works through his grief, protecting this young Fire Fist played by Julian Dennison. And the article goes on to say that Deadpool 2 is a fun ride, but it struggles to find a balance between genuine grief and Ryan Reynolds making his best, making this expression a lot. That the movie uses its time travel premise to undo Wade's journey in the post-credit scenes, making it all feel a bit cheaper. 5 years on, Deadpool 2 feels tonally and creatively uneven. A handful of one-liners already date as its pre-pandemic Trump-era release, but it's those jagged edges and rough textures that ensure the movie is still a good time for a vulgar superhero flick. It isn't afraid to find real pain in its bulletproof heroes. And I did want to mention, this was a recent article. This came out in February of 2024. And we're doing this podcast, of course, a few weeks before the release of Deadpool and Wolverine of July of 2024. I want to start with you on this, Kyle, about the tone that they're kind of putting on here, and that they kind of feel that it's uneven. What are your thoughts?
So, yeah, with the tone of Deadpool 2, I think uneven is a little bit of a fair assessment, because this film does feel like it jumps around a little bit at times compared to just what the original Deadpool film did. The original Deadpool film was more of a love story within that great action comic book film. With this film, I think a lot of people were it took them a little while to get over the shock of Vanessa being killed at the beginning of this film. And I think that kind of caught people out, threw them out of this movie for a little bit, and then it kind of re-hits its stride. But this movie kind of does fall into a little bit of the comic book movie conundrum that happens at times. I'll go back to the Spider-Man films, particularly Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi version. Too many things going on in one film. And I think there's points where this is going on with Deadpool, because you have the Cable thing, you've got everything with Vanessa going on, you've got the X-Men aspect of it involved, everything with Fire Fist. There's a lot of moving pieces here, and I think it feels like can feel like it's jumping around a little bit, but it's Deadpool, people. You just roll with it, because that's what Deadpool is. Deadpool is chaos.
Lacey, I want to get your thoughts on that article too. Do you feel it's uneven?
I don't think it's uneven. I think it's deliberately, it's aggressively pursuing several plot points. I think that everything that they do in this film comes together. So as long as you can start out in 3 different places, as long as it all ends up in the same spot. There's different ways to write scripts, and
right.
They chose theirs, and I think it works. And I think that the part of the charm of it is that they had so much, just because Ryan Reynolds is also credited as a writer. A lot of that is because he's so good with improv and working back and forth with everybody else. And I think that it works.
Yeah, Kyle.
I think one of the reasons too why it works too is because in Deadpool you have a character who can break the fourth wall and get away with it, and I think that really lets the audience be able to connect, even though there's all these different plot points going on. You have that instant connection with the character who's breaking the fourth wall, which kind of keeps you stable into what's going on, and I think that really does make a big difference, and that's why they're able to get away with this in this film.
Good point. Yeah, go ahead, Lacey.
So I also think that's going to come in really handy when he comes into the MCU, because I really want to see a conversation between him and She-Hulk, because with the amount that they break the fourth, I think that's going to be hilarious.
It's interesting you say that, because Kyle and I think had a conversation about that when we were covering She-Hulk for
nice.
True Believers podcast.
Cool.
But yeah, it's funny too, because I always felt like there was certain areas it was kind of a little disjointed. But after rewatching this movie, basically 3 times, I watched, of course, the original version. I watched the super duper cut here, and then it's also cool too because it comes with a Deadpool 2, not suitable for children's book. And then going into this, of course, we're going to talk about Once Upon a Deadpool. And I got to be honest with you guys. Let's get into that, because my honest take on this is I realize I don't think I saw this all the way through when I got it. I was like, okay, I got to have it. I got to get the digital copy. It's the Blu-ray DVD. And I felt like when I watched it recently, it was for the first time. And maybe I did watch it when it first came out. And I got to tell you, I really did enjoy this version of it. Having it toned down for the PG-13 was fun. And I love that they poke fun at that. But I love it when you're watching the film and then it breaks to, having Fred, of course, play his character in the same setting in The Princess Bride, and Deadpool telling the story like his uncle did. It was very fun, especially when you got Fred Savage, calling out certain things in the film and just, bleeping the F word because you only get one in PG-13s. Thoroughly enjoyed this. Kyle, I want to get with you on the Once Upon a Deadpool here. You touched on it earlier that it's one of the physical copies you do have.
Yeah, first of all, this was marketing genius, and that's where this film came from. There's great stories behind this about what happened with this film. Something Ryan Reynolds actually wanted to do and had discussed about after the first Deadpool. They capitalized on the Christmas movie season. This movie actually pushed back the movie I really like, Battle Angel, but it was the right call to put this out at Christmas time. Put out a PG-13 version because there's so many young fans that love Deadpool that just couldn't see the movie. It wasn't going to happen. And to play upon the nostalgia aspect by getting Fred Savage to agree to do this, pulling the Princess Bride thing, it worked beautifully, and it's a ton of fun. And it's one of those times where they do something like this that makes the movie truly rewatchable.
I'm glad you brought up the Alita Battle Angel thing, because I did want to give a time frame here for the fans that are watching and listening here on YouTube. This was released on December 12th of 2018, so later in the year. And it says here, like you mentioned, that at the end of September 2018, Fox announced that it would release an untitled Deadpool film in theaters on December 21st in place of Alita Battle Angel, which was moved to February of 2019. And Reynolds hinted that the version of the film would feature Deadpool telling the story of the film to Fred Savage, of course, parodying The Princess Bride, also a 20th Century Fox film, in which a young Savage was told a bedtime story. Lacey, want to get your thoughts on Once Upon a Deadpool.
Loved Once Upon a Deadpool. Absolutely hilarious. Love Fred Savage. Love the whole concept. Sorry, I didn't bring mine up.
That's all right.
Yay.
We're showing our copies for the YouTube viewers here. It says Inglorious PG-13.
Right. I think that it's interesting because if you watch them, I don't know, like I did, I watched the original, then I watched the supercut, and then I watched Once Upon a Deadpool in the past day and a half. So it's interesting to see what they pulled from Once Upon a Deadpool and then what they added, which was a couple of different, they had a couple of alt takes on certain lines. Some of them that were, in my opinion, a little bit racier than the originals. Like there's the shot where he's at the X mansion, and he's in the wheelchair, and he's still in the wheelchair, and he's driving, riding through the house or whatever. And he says, "Oh, all of these paintings of old white men." And he says, "I should have brought my rape whistle." But in the original, it says something about like Callista Flockhart must live here or something like that, which in my opinion is less racy.
Yeah.
Than the statement of needing a rape whistle. So I think that they played with the levels of keeping it within Deadpool flavor, I guess, a little spicy. But that way they were able to keep the PG-13 rating, but still give him a little bit of that extra kind of punch. So I thought it was fun. And Fred Savage, man, he in the past, I don't know, in the 5 years around this, he did several really fun, just sort of taking the piss, like playing himself in several different things. And it was just hilarious to see him do these kind of callback things, which is great. He did one with a fire show where he was like trying to rescue a cat or something. I don't even remember what it was in, but some of his comments in Deadpool, Once Upon a Deadpool, where you find out that Fred Savage is a person, or at least the character, his self that he's playing. He's a little foul-mouthed little man. And I think that they kind of hyped that up for the PG-13 as well, with the beep.
Yeah. I thought it was a brilliant marketing move to have a PG-13 movie and then bring in the Fred Savage factor, basically. Mm-hmm. And I thought this was great. I don't remember seeing it in the theaters, though. I think it had a limited run, and I don't remember it playing near me. I just remember getting the Blu-ray as soon as it came out. But great move. Now let's get into a little bit of trivia. Kyle, I know you got some trivia here for Deadpool 2.
Yeah, I might have dove into the Mighty Marvel MCU handbook for this. So at around the 23-minute mark, the footage of the X-Men closing the door was shot on the set of X-Men Dark Phoenix in 2029 and sent over to the Deadpool 2 crew. So a little crossing the streams there.
Not 2029, 2019.
2019, yeah. Well, it's saying with time travel.
This is a movie about
time travel in this movie, Kevin. Yeah, what are you talking about? At around the 1 hour, 4 minute mark, when Deadpool complains about Domino's powers, he says that it must have been the idea of an artist who can't even draw feet. Domino and Deadpool's creator Rob Liefeld is widely mocked and criticized for avoiding drawing characters' feet and hands. He also reportedly loved that joke. There's so much truth to this; it's not even funny.
Didn't they double down on that in the trailer for Wolverine?
Yes.
Yeah, they have. They have.
There's a shot of a store behind them when they're making that famous walk towards the camera. What is it? Liefeld's feet or something like that.
It's a shoe emporium or something.
Yeah. Liefeld shoe. Okay, just to say that I think Matt Damon might be the greatest cameo in Hollywood right now, because of course, let's not forget Eurotrip, because Scotty doesn't know. But also in this, Ryan Reynolds was at a dinner party with Matt Damon, pitched him the toilet paper manifesto, and asked if Damon wanted to play the part. Damon thought it was hilarious and agreed to do the cameo.
Nice.
So, and then, of course, maybe the best cameo in Deadpool 2, Ryan Reynolds wrote Brad Pitt a letter pitching the idea of a cameo to him. I just wrote him a letter and explained what it was we were doing, Reynolds said, and the sort of premise behind it, and how do what was the most wasteful way to use the biggest movie star in the world. And it was through a character that is largely invisible and worthless throughout the movie. Continued saying Pitt seemed to like the idea, and I guess Brad found that funny. We all found that funny, and he said yes. And the next thing you know, he came in and shot for about 7 minutes, Reynolds added. According to screenwriter Paul Wernick, Pitt jumped at the chance to appear in Deadpool 2. He immediately said yes. Wernick told Heat Vision, per the Hollywood Reporter, it was a pinch-me moment. Reynolds only had good things to say about Pitt. He's just such a gentleman and such a funny, charming human being, a parenthetical, the biggest movie star on Earth, and that was pretty exciting for all of us. And then he
7 minutes of filming with Brad Pitt, and he's out. Lacey?
Yeah, but he said all this good stuff about Hugh Jackman, but he probably about Brad Pitt. But he said something bad about Hugh Jackman afterwards.
From what I understand, Brad Pitt's payment for the film was Ryan Reynolds bringing him a cup of Starbucks coffee, and
probably.
Then in Bullet Train, the same thing happened, where Ryan Reynolds comes in for like 10 minutes of filming and did the same thing back.
Yeah. I just got to say this. I'm sorry, that is the best secret cameo ever, because everybody, and when I saw it for the first time in the theater, everybody was like, wait a minute, was that Brad Pitt? Because it's so quick.
Yeah. I didn't catch it the first viewing.
Oh, everybody's like, that was Brad Pitt.
Kyle, we got any more trivia there?
Yeah, we do have a couple more pieces of trivia. Josh Brolin signed a form-filled deal to play Cable and described his appearance here as just the introduction for the character, with 3 more movies to reveal more. We'll see. Ryan Reynolds wrote the entirety of the toddler dick scene. Shirt cocking is a phrase I've heard my wife say. One of them asked how they got away with showing the toddler's dick. It's my dick and balls, replied Reynolds. That's how we got away with it. And then finally, Ryan Reynolds and director David Leitch were so taken with Zazie Beetz that they wanted her to bring her own style to the role, preferring she wear her hair natural rather than the straight choppy domino sports in the original comic. David Leitch described showing Domino's power of luck was the most fun that the choreography team had, said Leitch. As a team of stunt fighters, choreographers, and camera people danced around in the clip. We kept going back to this Rube Goldberg idea, Leitch said. She does one thing that leads to a series of unlikely events that lead to a thing that she needed to happen right at a critical moment.
But they did a good job capturing that. Before we get into our categories here, I did want to mention one thing. The hype to we got David back here. David, are you with us here?
Yeah, you know what? I think one of the plugs, or maybe the port on my laptop, just failed to power my laptop here. So it's like,
well,
it's
good to have you back.
Yeah.
Good to have you back.
Yeah, thanks. What did I miss?
Well, we were doing some trivia, but I do want to get your quick thoughts on Once Upon a Deadpool. We did talk about that.
Well, that'll be pretty short and simple because I'm not aware of Once Upon a Time in Deadpool.
Well, you haven't seen it yet.
No, what is it exactly?
It's basically a PG-13 of the film. It had a limited theatrical run, and it went to Blu-ray, DVD, and digital. And they had a little fun with it by having Deadpool pretend to play a kind of uncle or grandpa telling the story to a Fred Savage in bed, just like basically parodying The Princess Bride. And throughout the film, you see Fred Savage comment on what's happening in the film. So it's very, very funny.
Okay. Yeah, I think that kind of I think that was one of the reasonings people had that maybe Deadpool wasn't going to be rated R in the MCU. I think that was one of the catalysts there. But yeah, thankfully, it's going to be full-on R Deadpool, so...
It's worth saying. Now, I want to just mention this really briefly. Up to the hype of Deadpool 2, Fox was putting on a huge campaign to push Deadpool and to hopefully sell more copies of Deadpool 1 by also trying to sell more copies of their library, specifically Fox, guys. Do you remember when Walmart was selling these alternate slipcovers of a lot of their famous films like Speed, Predator, Office Space, Good, the Bad, the Ugly? All of these had very funny Deadpool things. And I want to mention real quick because I have a couple here myself. I have Terminator, still sealed, by the way.
Oh, nice.
And it says on here, include $5 towards one movie admission to see Deadpool 2. And on the back of these, they all had to have this kind of like, Deadpool saying, I wish I was in this movie, but I'm not. And then I also have the Revenge of the Nerds Deadpool Penny Raid edition here as well. Did you guys pick up any of your favorite Fox licensed films with the Deadpool slipcovers?
No, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to find all of them, and that would have made me a crazy person, and they would have had to institutionalize me. So
I was tempted. I was tempted when I was at this Walmart kiosk and they had them all there. I was like, "Oh my god, I gotta have it!" But then I would have to buy some.
Yeah, they're super cheap.
Yeah, they were like $5-6, but then I was like, then I'd have to buy like X-Men Apocalypse. I'm like, All right, guys, let's get in. Oh, yeah, David. Sorry.
Yeah, so I was going to say quickly, I remember going to Walmart and seeing the whole, like, shelving full of these Deadpool covers, and I was like, what do people really think about this? And I watched as a couple rolled up to it, and the guy was like, what the fuck? And he was looking through, like, he was looking at it, it was like, are these all What? Office Space? It's like, what? And he was just looking at his wife, and they're just looking at each other all puzzled. And I was in the corner just laughing because, it like did the trick there. It was just like confusing the hell out of people. And it's such great marketing. Deadpool has the best marketing out of any film franchise out there. Yeah, Revenge of the Nerds, Terminator. Yeah, it's great that you have them sealed, Kevin. I think they're going to be worth quite a bit of money.
I had to keep these. There might be one or two others hiding somewhere. I don't remember which one they were, but I do remember the Terminator and Revenge of the Nerds ones. And I just thought it was perfect. And I'm like, you know what? I got to keep these sealed just for fun. So yeah.
I think that's a lot of the advertising idea. I really do think that Ryan Reynolds has a huge input when it comes to that, because if you look at his gin and his phone service and the football team, like everything he does has the marketing for all of them is just brilliant. And so it boils down to Ryan Reynolds is a genius.
Yep. He's the reason why this series is successful. And that topic might come up a little bit later. But first, let's get into the categories for Couch Potato Theater here, guys. All right, the first category is our favorite scenes and quotes. I'm going to nominate some here, guys, that I wanted to kind of throw out at you. First of all, we have the opening gangster fight montage. Then we have the X-Men trainee scene where Wade is wearing that funny little X-Men half-cut football jersey from like the 70s. Then we also, of course, have the famous prison battle scene as well, where Cable makes his first appearance trying to kill the kid. We also have the X-Men house scene, very, very funny there as well. We also have the X-Force recruitment scene. Then that goes into the X-Force skydiving and death scenes. Then we have the really big fight on the prison transport scene there as well. We also have Juggernaut makes his appearance and decides to make 2 Deadpools. And we have to mention, of course, the famous Deadpool baby legs scene where Cable also visits them and asks for help.
Straight up Porky Pig in it.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have the end school battle scene versus Juggernaut at the prison hospital with a bunch of pedophile staff as well. I want to throw those out at you guys. David, you're our guest. What was your favorite scene and or quote in the film?
I really love the opening scene with Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 playing over it. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. How does this work so well? So I actually do deliver pizza on the side, and you know there's been an effect on the culture when all these like little high school kids that I work with will play all their contemporary music, and then there's like a Dolly Parton 9 to 5 thrown in there, and I'm like, why are they listening to this? I was like, oh yes, it's Deadpool 2, it's the opening scene. They got into it. They looked up Dolly Parton and added it to the playlist. So yeah, that was fantastic. That whole montage, he's just slicing heads off and severing limbs, and it was just glorious, man. Glorious R-rated action to see Deadpool go full Deadpool.
Great way to open it.
Yeah, terrific way to open it. You asked what of my favorite, like maybe.
Yeah, do you have any favorite quotes as well?
Okay, so I watched the film with one of my buddies, I think opening night, and I think this was at the Alamo Draft House, and he is a very staunch person on what type of music he listens to. So he's like a big rock guy. So the moment when I think it was Cable who told Deadpool, he said dubsteps for pussies. The whole crowd just erupted, and I was like, oh my God. And then my buddy was like crying because he believes that too, apparently. So yeah, that line caught me so off guard, and yeah, the crowd just went hysterical. Yeah.
Kyle, what are your favorite scenes and or quotes?
The whole X-Force recruitment scene is just from the recruitment to when they start the mission and mistakenly jump in high wind shear. Just everything. The death scenes of X-Force, and that I'm sitting here watching this and being a fan of the comics and going, wow, they really did this. And I'm just like, I'm also thinking to myself, either Rob Liefeld is laughing his ass off right now, or he's just got his hands buried in his face as he's watching this scene, because most of these characters were Rob Liefeld creations or specifically created for X-Force. And just come on, every minute of this movie is quotable. Kevin, come on, there's not anything in here that's not quotable. But I'm going to say this: there was definitely some quotes during the prison scenes that made me squirm just a little.
Oh, that's a good one. I just want to shout out one of my favorite quotes. I hope I don't steal this from you, Lacey. When Wade goes to Cable, is that a fanny pack? I used to have one of those in 1990. Never. Lacey, what are your favorite scenes and quotes?
As far as funny stuff, I think you covered all of the funny scenes. I think that a couple of lines that I mean, anytime Dopinder with his I want some more, and the whole conversation about Kirsten Dunst and how he wants to become, it's just hilarious. He is.
I mean, a contract killer.
Yeah, I want to be I want to become a contractor. I will bathe in the blood of your enemies. Like this sweet, innocent, like just adorable man. He's just so soft spoken, and he's like, I want to bathe in the blood of your enemies. Just like, okay, and then with the very last bit where he comes in and comes in with the cab and murders the headmaster or whatever, and Deadpool's like, I could hear you the last 30 seconds. I just could barely keep a straight face. And yeah. Dopinder's one of my favorites.
Kyle,
Kevin, I just one other thing. The most horrific use of sign language ever in this movie. Deadpool and Colossus.
Yes. The moments between him and Colossus are great. The whole whenever Deadpool loses a limb or something and he's growing it back, the baby leg scene was one of the funniest scenes. I laugh out loud every time this happens. With everyone's reaction has a moment to come in and have a reaction to it, and and then you get Cable coming in. This is probably my favorite scene. I just absolutely love it. That one just kills me.
Also, we can't forget, no one's mentioned TJ Miller yet. He's always really good with.
Well, we're talking about the cast and crew right now. Actually, that's the next part. And Lacey, I'm going to go ahead and let you jump in right now because we have this is the cast and crew discussion right now. And as I mentioned, I got a little collage here, of course, on all the main members here, and Cable, of course. But yeah, go ahead. What do you got about TJ Miller?
Well, I mean, he's brilliant. I mean, he's not anymore. He's kind of taken a little sabbatical from acting or something, from some stress issues, I think is what they are calling it. But his improvisational skills, both in the first film and in this one, and then he actually did some alt scenes that showed up in Once Upon a Deadpool. And he's just, it's just so funny. He's just absolutely hilarious. And I think that the conversations where he literally just stands there looking at Deadpool saying, like, you look like this, you look like that, you look at some of the best lines in the show. Everybody else loved Fabian. I'm sorry, Julian
Dennison.
Dennison, yeah. And
Fire Fist.
Yes, Fire Fist. And even down to the headmaster and the orderly. I mean, just picking the faces and those guys give. Those guys have been in a million movies, but they give good creep. They give good creepy. But in other films, they play like sweet, innocent, adorable. Like they're just so good at picking their character actors so that they can give these the casting director
creepy sex lips.
Secret sex lips. Yeah, secret sex lips. But the casting director here really knows all the people.
David, what are your thoughts on the cast?
Oh my God, so many thoughts.
Any that stand out for you?
Even before Deadpool 2, Ryan Reynolds even said it. In the comic book, they wrote that Deadpool unmasked looks like a cross between a Shar-Pei and Ryan Reynolds, I believe. And that's, I think, what kind of kicked off the whole thing. But
I think avocado and scrotum had been thrown out there as well.
And maybe like a topographical map of some region. Yeah. But yeah, so Ryan Reynolds, yes, he is born to play this role. He is the definition of who Wade Wilson is. Bringing in Zazie Beetz as Domino, terrific casting. She played it so perfectly. I love her. They really kind of showed us that being lucky is a superpower. She's the only one that survived the drop from the airplane there. And she conveniently landed on one of those big blow-ups outside of a car dealership or a new storefront there. And yeah, it was cool to see her. I don't know if she returns in Deadpool Wolverine, but I would love to see her back. I think she's a phenomenal actress. Even in Atlanta as well, she does a terrific job there too. Josh Brolin, we talked about earlier, playing Cable. He nailed it, knocked out of the park. He was he took maybe like his character from his Tommy Lee Jones from Men in Black 3, I think, and kind of shaped it into what Cable is. And yeah, perfect Cable. Like I said, he got totally jacked. He totally worked for the role. Dopinder, I wanted to touch on this. I don't think we've mentioned this, but a bit of trivia with the name Dopinder. I don't mean to bring the mood down here, but Ryan Reynolds grew up with a close friend named Dopinder, and I think he actually passed away when they were younger, and he named the character in Deadpool after him to honor him.
That's awesome, and the fact that he stays friends with this guy as well is cool. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And Colossus, Colossus was fantastic in the first
Just
Deadpool.
say fuck once, you know.
And yeah, the total Boy Scout character in there, I mean, is a super huge Russian guy. I fell in love with Colossus in the 90s, and to see him almost like a comic book accurate version of Colossus, I know we got him a little bit in the Fox universe, but that really wasn't Colossus to me. This is Colossus, and for him to come back, the same voice actor, I think he was up on stage at a San Diego Comic-Con a couple times, and Al knocks it out of the park. Even in
Al.
Blind Al, every single film. Deadpool 1, great. Deadpool 2, great. Now the trailers for Deadpool Wolverine. We can't mention doing cocaine. We can't mention girl interrupted. We can't mention booger sugar. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, man, she just knocks out of the park. And I think she's like a Broadway actress as well. Yeah. And I think the mandate for casting a Deadpool film is if you're like a really cool person and you get like the joke. And like Dead Pants there mentioned Weasel. So great at improvisation. TJ Miller is fantastic. If you haven't seen it before, go back to the first San Diego Comic-Con panel where it's Chris Hardwick hosting, going back and forth with TJ Miller, making horse puns. Because at the beginning, TJ Miller picks up the nameplate and he says, I just want to read the back of it to the audience here. It says, just be careful because some of your audience in the crowd might be underage, so be careful with what you say. And then TJ Miller says something along the lines of like, fuck it, I'm just gonna say whatever. And he's like, well, I mean, I think Hardwick referenced something on the internet. He's like, you're the online generation, you've seen everything, everyone's desensitized. And TJ Miller says, he's like, yeah, you pretty much seen a horse fuck people before you have your first kiss. And then they just started doing the horse puns back and forth. And I mean, it was, yeah. I think
I'll have to check that out.
I think Chris Hardwick said that you're up here with unbridled glory, and T.J. Miller said something around like, I just love to stir up the crowd, and they just kept on going back and forth with horse puns.
Both being comedians, that must have been hilarious.
Yeah, and of course Chris Hardwick was like, points, no points, right, from his old game show. So, yeah, I mean, and I want to mention Brianna Hildebrand, too. She does a fantastic job with Negasonic Teenage Warhead. And Yukio in Deadpool 2, she was fantastic. I mean, just the little moment she had, I mean, it was, like, perfect.
Bye, Yukio!
Yeah.
I love that.
Bye, Wade! Yeah, yeah, fantastic. Awesome. And, of course, Julian, too. He did a fantastic job, too. I had never really seen him in much before. I know he did that one Taika Waititi film, and I think that's how they kind of, like, found him and cast him for this.
Greatest Fire Fist, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Even the adult version of him, he is a old school Lord of the Rings actor as well. I believe he's a Maori actor, and I think his last name is Sala, I believe.
Oh, Sala, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Sala Baker.
Yeah, Sala Baker. Yes.
I've actually met him before at Comic-Con when I used to work for Decipher that did the Lord of the Rings card game.
Nice.
And
okay.
he was also the stand-in for he played some of the Uruk-hai, but I believe he was the one that also was Sauron when Sauron was swinging his things. He was the stunt actor behind that. Great guy.
Right.
So
okay.
cool.
Yeah. He held the mace. Yeah.
Get some beers in him. He's hilarious. Kyle, I want to get your thoughts on the cast of Deadpool.
Everybody kind of hit everybody here. I'm just going to throw out a couple things real quick. Blind Al, played by Leslie Uggams, is amazing. Brianna Hildebrand as Negasonic Teenage Warhead. The banter she's able to have back and forth with Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool. I mean, still keep that deadpan going while you've got Deadpool with all the crazy.
I love how they have this love-hate, right?
Yeah. Nobody's talked about Morena. Morena Baccarin, I mean, since going back to Firefly, she can be on my screen as much as she wants, whenever she wants to be. But she portrays the love relationship she has with Wade in the first film, but especially I think even more so in this film, in a way that it's touching, but it's so Deadpool. And she's wonderful in this. And of course, we'll talk, in the end, they fix it. So, you know what? Yeah, we can have her back for more films now without any issues, but she is phenomenal in this. And of course, the entire casting for X-Force was just hilarious and great. And I mean, that's the one thing I have yet to see a Marvel film or product, even ones that I didn't care for. The one thing I can for sure say, period, is They have never questioned the casting in a Marvel, and something Marvel Studios has been involved in. So,
I want to give a shout out to X-Force. Terry is Bedlam. Terry Crews is Bedlam. I thought was great. But I rewatching this, like, holy crap, that's Bill Skarsgård as Zeitgeist.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about that, and we're seeing a lot of him recently, and we're going to see a lot more of him too as well. And I also did have a picture here, of course, if you're watching this, the cameo, of course, Matt Damon is Redneck 2 and Alan Tudyk as Redneck 1, which I thought was very funny. Good shout out to those guys there. All right, here's a fun little thing. This was Kyle's idea. I love this. This is what we call, I'll bring this in here. This is the cast discussion of Ocean's 11. Do you think we need one more? Who would you add to the cast? Now, of course, we have to kind of look at the time frame here. This movie was filmed in 2017, released in 2018. We hadn't gotten the Disney Fox purchase yet, but I did see in 2021 there was a funny scene with Korg and Deadpool sitting together on talking about some type of promotion. I can't remember, but Korg, of course, originally from Thor Ragnarok. I don't know how you could do it, but that would have been fun. But Kyle, this is your idea. If you could have added someone to the cast or something, keep in mind the time frame and what was allowed and what was not allowed, who would have it been?
I don't know about who I would have added to the cast because I can't really think at that time who had played this character well. But the name Essex is the name of the orphanage in this film. And if you are an X-Men fan, you know the name Essex is Nathaniel Essex, which is the villain, Mr. Sinister. I would have loved to have seen at the end the full look of a full appearance of Mr. Sinister, even if maybe it set up something for something future in Deadpool universe. But that would have been something to just expand on that just enough, because Essex has a huge history with Cable as well in the comics. So it's very important connection there. But the other thing I'm going to say about this, even if we thought we needed one more for Deadpool 2, I can promise you we probably have that one more plus some in Deadpool Wolverine.
Yeah, that's a good point. Lacey, would you have added anyone to this cast?
You know, the one shot of Matt Damon and Alan Tudyk reminded me so much of Dale and Tucker and Dale versus Evil, that something in it just Tyler Labine is the other character in Dale and Tucker with Alan Tudyk. And I think that he would have been fun to stick in there somewhere, maybe as another redneck, maybe he's just somebody, I don't know. But just that one shot that one scene made me think of that film.
Okay. I think that was inspired. I think that inspired this scene, actually. Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I think there was some inspiration there.
Awesome.
That's a good call on that. I like that.
Cool.
David, what about you? Would you have added anyone to this cast if you could have?
So I think everyone kind of knows my thoughts by now that Deadpool 2 is pretty much a perfect sequel. It would be kind of odd, I think, and maybe a little bit disrupting to add someone else extra in there. But if I had my way with it, and if it would work out somehow, some way, to stick a particular character, I think there's only really one answer out there. The character, the actor, I'm not sure. Maybe we could, I mean, you could go around and kind of like have your own opinion on the actor, but the dream is to finally see Deadpool and Spider-Man work together, commingle, duke it out, something together on screen. Hopefully we get it in a week. Hopefully we get something there. But yeah, it would be Spider-Man totally.
Kyle.
One other thing that they could have pulled off here that I think would have worked, because of the time travel factor in it, and because we established an appearance from the X-Men in Dark Phoenix mode, I would have loved to have seen Deadpool walking on a scene with Fassbender and McAvoy.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah. That would have been cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. I want Fassbender and McAvoy to come back in some way, shape, or form. We need those guys need to come back.
McAvoy was in the room.
Yeah, he was in the room.
Yeah, he was in the room when they closed, closed the thing. Yeah.
All right, guys. The next fun topic we have here, I'd like to bring in the fast or not so furious mode of transportation. And I have a couple of options here. First of all, I see these come out okay. They're a little hard to show on this picture, but not that one. Here we go. So we have the prison transport truck, which is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I can say fucking. It's pretty fucking cool. Let's do it this way. And then I gotta throw in the Vespa that Deadpool just casually steals from that poor girl. And then you know what? You gotta throw in Dopender's taxi, the Ford Crown Victoria. Do you have a favorite of any of these or any that I've missed, David?
I really like the scene that they actually took advantage of the prison transport. That was a really good action scene. And I mean, it's like a big, like cumbersome lumbering vehicle, but I mean, they really did pull off that action scene. So I really did like that. But I mean, the taxi, I mean, it feels like it's getting to be iconic in Deadpool. So I would love to see some type of maybe play on Fast and the Furious at some point with the taxi and just, I don't know. I would love to see something in the next movie with Dopinder possibly.
That's a good call. Lacey, what about you? You got a favorite mode of transportation?
I mean, parachutes. Come on.
Oh, good call.
I think that once we get to the post-credit scene, we actually have some parachute. Maybe some people survive the parachute couple. Not all.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
All right. What about you, Kyle?
Nobody handles a Vespa like Deadpool.
I like that it was red too. I thought that was funny.
Is Cable's machine, is that considered a vehicle?
No, doesn't have wheels.
He takes it through time. He does travel.
I'm going to vote against it. Sorry. All right, the Zoolander. They look so hot right now. Favorite costume or fashion moment? I have some nominees. First of all, got to give it to Nega Teenage Sonic Warhead, and of course her friend Zazie Beetz looked great, of course, as Domino, and of course, pretty much anytime you got Deadpool, but especially when he's like looking underneath his legs backward while driving a vehicle, that's a pretty cool so hot moment right there. David, did you have any? Those are just nominations. Did you have a favorite costume moment or fashion moment in Deadpool 2?
I think it's the women. I think look the best to me. But I really think Zazie Beetz. I think they really knocked it out of the park with her. I think in particular the fact that we all know the comic book character Domino has the white over the eye, and the fact that they kind of it's just kind of a ubiquitous thing that we all think that maybe that's like vitiligo. It's like the skin situation that some people have, that they worked it into the character and it makes total sense to me. So I really love that aspect of her. But she just works as Domino. I don't know, just her performance was terrific, and I really hope they bring her back in some way, shape, form. Kyle,
what's your favorite Zoolander they look so hot right now costume scene?
Just to follow up on what David said with Zazie Beetz, because they instead of going with a comic book true version character of how this character looked, they went with this mix because Zazie was so outstanding, and it just works so well, and they pulled it off. And I don't know anybody who complained about the fact that she didn't look comic accurate per se. So I think that was a big hit. You know what? I'm gonna say I love Negasonic Teenage Warhead with her short hair.
She looked great.
yeah, I love her too.
Yeah. She didn't, but just that's one of the things with this movie. Even this movie has great visuals to it, and the costumes are accurate. Josh Brolin looked phenomenal as Cable in this. Again, they put a lot of love into making sure things look the way they should with these films.
Yeah. What about you, Lacey? You got a Zoolander moment costume?
I think that everyone in the X-Force, like all the X-Force outfits were perfect. We've got between Bill Skarsgård and Rob Delaney and Terry Crews and I'm missing someone with this 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, Zazie Beetz. And
Shatterstar.
Thank you, Shatterstar. All their costumes were so fantastic and so well put together. And then you see Rob Delaney walk in, and he's just khakis and a long sleeve shirt, but it's so perfect for the character. It's so perfect.
No. Let's be honest. Peter stole the movie as best dressed.
Oh, absolutely. Peter's fantastic. And just that one shot that you have on the slide where he's doing the skydive, where he's planking.
Yeah.
Okay.
He seemed to have the best skydiving pose than anyone else.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a good point. I love that.
So I want to ask you this, Kevin. What
Yeah.
was the line in the recruitment of Rob Delaney there? I think he mentioned something about having. He was Ryan Reynolds was like, "What's your superpower?" And he's like, "Well, I have type 2 diabetes or something like that."
Yeah,
and then they cut to Deadpool sitting at the desk with. He's like looking at him like this, and he's like, "You're in."
Yeah.
Look, that's not a real power, but you're in.
And then Peter made the comment about like, yeah, this cable may have killed a lot of people, but not as much as melanoma. So, yeah. Okay. Let's get into some moments here with characters, and I call it the Harry Met Sally scene, our best scene or moment between two characters. And I have some nominations here. Any time, of course, Wade is with his girl. I love the moments they have, especially, when she's, talking about family and stuff. But my other nominees are, of course, Deadpool with Fire Fist. And of course, if you watch the Once Upon a Deadpool, Fred Savage and Deadpool have some great moments. Let's go stay with you, Lacey. What were some of your favorite moments between two characters?
I think that Colossus and Deadpool have a lot of fun little back and forths. The whole thing where he's in the chair and he's running away from Deadpool, wheeling away from Colossus, and then the whole conversation, because Colossus is just trying his best to make Wade a good guy. He knows it's in there. He just know. And then the whole soap dispenser thing. Oh my God. And then the hug thing where he keeps grabbing his butt, and then there's the whole, every time you see Ryan Reynolds, Wade and Colossus, it's just hilarious.
Great call.
Yeah.
What about you, David? What are your favorite moments between two characters?
There's so many favorite moments, man. I love this movie so much. But yeah, I was trying to think about the moment. One of the big moments that stuck out to me. I failed to mention her in the character section, and Kyle skillfully did when I didn't. But yeah, Morena Baccarin as Vanessa, to go toe to toe with Ryan Reynolds in these films is fantastic. And for me in Deadpool 2, of course, when they do the sequences where he's out of the suit and he's falling through water and he's trying to get back with his girl. To me, and to play Aha's Take on Me and the slower version of it, it works so well. And just him trying to get back and get back to Vanessa after, of course, spoiler, she was killed in the opening. But
yeah,
I love the interaction between the two. I was never a fan of Morena Baccarin at all until Deadpool 1, when her and Ryan Reynolds got together in Deadpool, and it was a believable relationship for me, and she knocked out of the park in both films. So, yeah, to me, that's my moment. Yeah.
Kyle, what about you?
Well, when Morena told me to kiss me like I missed her. Oh wait, that was in the movie, wasn't it? Obviously, the heart of Deadpool 1, and actually of this film, is that love story between Vanessa and Wade, and the love they have, because that has been Wade's motivation the entire time, is getting back to Vanessa, or getting with Vanessa, or being with Vanessa, and that's been through 1 and 2. So I think that is the strongest relationship. But I got to give a little shout out to the end of the film, when Cable and Deadpool have a little moment, when Cable makes the decision to not go back to his own time and instead saves Wade by putting the token right there where the bullet would have hit him. And then when Wade realizes what's happened afterwards, that is a great summation of the Cable Deadpool relationship from the comics into the film. And I just think it was a great moment.
I did a great call, Kyle. Great call. I did want to give a shout out to one moment. It was brief with Deadpool and Zazie Beetz, because it's a scene where she walks in on after the truck releases Juggernaut, and you see her turn around and look at the camera going, nope. And she walks away. Deadpool gets ripped in half, and then she has to carry him backpack style. I thought that was very funny.
C-3PO style, yep.
Yeah.
That was really good.
I understood that reference.
We, of course, here in the middle of our Couch Potato Theater, Deadpool 2. And as we go on, we got to talk, of course, the best fight scene, guys. And there was a lot of good ones here. And I got some nominees. Of course, we have the 9 to 5 intro fight scene, which I believe was one of your favorite scenes there, David. We also, of course, have the prison fight scene where Cable makes his appearance. And we got a few other honorable mentions here, of course, the Cable and Deadpool fight scene and the whole thing with the prison transport. And as I just mentioned, of course, we have some moments with Juggernaut ripping Deadpool apart, and then the end scene when he fights Colossus. I know there's plenty of other ones as well, but Kyle, let's go to you on this. What's your favorite fight scene in Deadpool 2?
I've got to agree with David. It's the opening montage to 9 to 5. I mean, Kevin, we have seen that song used in many different ways recently here in fandom.
The Orville used the 9 to 5. It was a ship battle scene, if I remember right?
But yeah, I just want to throw out too why because I meant to do it when we talked about the cast. The Juggernaut. This is probably the best looking portrayal of the Juggernaut. Obviously, we had Vinnie Jones back in the X-Men Phoenix movie that we don't talk about. But the great thing about this, not only in the portrayal, but if you watch the credits, Juggernaut's voice himself. That's how they credit it in the credits. And I love the fact that they did that, so you really didn't know who was voicing the Juggernaut and who was kind of being the CGI'd up version of the Juggernaut.
And do you guys know who actually voiced him?
I just found this out while I was doing research for this. Please tell us, David.
I believe it was Ryan Reynolds, right?
Yep.
You are correct. Yeah. And there's a couple of moments you can tell it's him when Juggernaut changes his voice to, I think, a lower register. Had no idea Ryan voiced Juggernaut. Yeah. Okay, Lacey, what were your favorite fight scenes?
I think that you covered them all with the pictures. I loved the one in the crazy fight in the prison with Cable, but even before that, when they had with Black Tim or Black Evan or I don't know, Tom. I can't remember his name. I just remember he was African American. That whole thing, and I think that Fire Fist, because we haven't really talked about Julian Dennison much. His the final scene, you've got the photo up from the Colossus and Juggernaut, but when there's this scene where he's chasing the headmaster. It's not really a fight scene because the headmaster is just screwed, right? But just the evil, that kind of where he's got his hand, he's walking his hand across and the wall behind him is burning as he walks, is just such a great. It's a great evil superpower. And now you kind of figure that since he is not going to be the bad guy, because the blood on the bear is no longer the blood on the bear. Now you got to wonder if Fire Fist is going to become a good guy. Is he going to hang out and be maybe, at the mansion with all the other kids and that kind of thing? And I don't know. X-Men was not my big thing, and neither was Deadpool. So I don't know a lot of the possible combinations. So for me, it's still a blank slate. So I'm interested to find out how that goes, or if he's just going to kind of be a one and done, because you never know.
I'm glad you highlighted
the actor. The actor's fantastic.
In that scene I referenced earlier, by the way, when Deadpool gets ripped in half here, and of course, young Fire Fist has recruited him, and he's leaving, and he does a little rope I'm leaving trick. That was very, very.
Whoa, he's so good. He's so good.
Oh, that was good.
I like that kid, man.
David, you mentioned, of course, the beginning scene was a great fight scene. Did you have any other honorable mentions for best fight scene?
Yes, I do. Of course, all these fight scenes are terrific. The one that kind of jumps out at me, though, where maybe I improperly laughed at this moment, but it was the scene in the prison when Cable gets a hold of, you can see it right there at the bottom of the screen there, Cable gets a hold of Wade when he doesn't have his powers and he's suffering from cancer again, and Cable just starts folding him up like cheap lawn furniture, and he falls from a tremendous height, and the bottom part of his body ends up on a table, and the top half ends up on the ground, and it almost looks like It was CGI, but they made it feel realistic, like it was a crash test dummy type thing. And the way it fell and landed, I just laughed out loud in the theater, and I think I was maybe the only one. But it looked hilarious.
Yeah, that was funny. It was good. All right, now this just a brief little section here. We have that you took them out with what? Your favorite weapon or inanimate object used as a weapon. Let's give a shout out to Cable's big fucking gun. This thing was just huge. It seemed like it had all the bells and whistles. It looked like it was, part, was it Fifth Element gun? The one that Gary Oldman uses in that one. Dave, what would you think of this one?
Oh man, it was terrific. I loved it. I mean, this is a really cool picture of the exploded view of his gun. But yeah, so many gadgets and gizmos and tech and futurized artillery, and I thought it was awesome. Even his shield that he had. I mean, they did Cable so much justice in this. It was just perfect, man. And I can't think. I mean, maybe Deadpool's katanas, maybe, but I love Cable's gun. It would be nice to have that as like a shelf piece in my room.
Well, this leads into the Sean Bean Award for Best Death Scene, guys. Oh yeah, Lacey.
I would like to shout out Yukio's like electric whip or whatever she had, because
good call.
She only had like that one shot at the very, very end where she saved a little bit of the day right there at the very end. I mean, we hadn't seen what her like power was yet, and I was excited to see that.
That's a good call.
Sorry, keep going back. Sorry. Okay.
So for the Sean Bean Death Scene Award, I just have a couple nominations here. When of course, the entire X-Force, and you see the reaction of Wade, Deadpool up on that billboard. He's watching it all happen. And then the pedophile prison guards got their up and coming with Deadpool and Cable getting their fun on there. Kyle, do you have any good death scenes that you liked?
It's X-Force. It's the whole wiping out of X-Force. There's nothing that's even a close second, to be honest.
Yeah. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, I agree with Kyle, man. It's the X-Force. I think it was Shatterstar who flew into like helicopter blades, right?
Yeah.
Or was it the wood chipper? Someone flew in a wood chipper as well. Was it Terry Crews? Skarsgård. Okay, Skarsgård. Then
Zeitgeist.
And then Terry Crews flew into the bus, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh, man, that was so hilarious. And then, of course, I knew going in that David Leitch, of course, was Brad Pitt's stunt double on Fight Club. So when they did the big shock sequence with the invisible hero, I forget his name. What was his name?
The Vanisher.
The Vanisher. Okay. I knew to like not blink and look as close as possible to see Brad Pitt on screen. And I was like, oh man, that's such a cool Easter egg. And yeah, I mean, the whole X-Force death montage. And then Peter being told by Deadpool, just walk away. Just walk away. Just go.
Dominic,
It's so stressful. Lacey, do you have a comment?
I'm going to go with the headmaster. I mean, just from hot to...
Dopinder getting his kill on with his car.
Dopinder, he got his thing. But also, you have to give it to Ryan Reynolds, because technically Deadpool had a death scene this year, or this film.
Yeah.
And so they
multiple
he kept kind of coming back and saying, "Oh no, just before I go." And
that's a good call. I forgot to add those pictures in.
Oh wait, that's the sun. Yeah. Don't look directly at that. And then because he hams it up. It was reminiscent of Pee Wee Herman in Buffy. It just had that kind of like coming back note. And
it's Colossus that collects all of his pieces from being blown apart.
Yes. And he has him in a double bag. But no, I'm just saying, like at the very end when he's been shot and he's actually gonna die. So
Kyle? I just want to say to the Lacey thing that reminded me, this film made me watch more footage of Yentl than I ever have in my life.
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up, Kyle, because our next topic is the Kenny Loggins or John Williams best use of music or song in a movie, and I'd like to nominate some. I have, first of all, the, of course, 9 to 5 Dolly Parton open fight montage, which rolls into Enya's Caribbean Blue. Deadpool noticed the similarity between Papa Can You Hear Me from Yentl, 1983, and Do You Want to Build a Snowman from Frozen, 2013. The opening James Bond credit scene with Ashes performed by Celine Dion. X-Force skydiving scene to AC/DC's Thunderstruck, the In Your Eyes performed by Peter Gabriel, Colossus pulls the metal rod out of Deadpool's head scene, We Belong by Pat Benatar beginning credit scene, and If I Could Turn Back Time performed by Cher during the time travel mid-credit scenes. David, I want to start with you. Is any of these pop out at you as your favorite, or do you have one that I have not mentioned?
Yeah, so of course I mentioned 9 to 5, terrific opening song put on top of that action sequence. But for me, it's If I Could Turn Back Time, performed by Cher, because when they did the whole sequence when he got the time machine back and Yukio repaired it, he went back to scenes where we saw the Wolverine origin movie. Is that a good idea? Yeah, and then he got eventually back to Ryan Reynolds reading the script for Green Lantern and assassinated Ryan Reynolds. That was terrific. And there's a big joke between me and a group of friends about this particular song. So when it played, when I was in the theater with them, we were just like dying when this was playing. And I'm one of those rare people which I don't think I've ever met another person. Maybe it's you, Kevin, but I actually did like the Green Lantern movie. It wasn't that bad to me.
I did.
Okay, cool, Lacey. All right,
I did too.
Awesome. Okay,
I'm in the middle. I didn't absolutely hate it, but
I really liked it, man. I
did too. Lacey liked it too. We're in the camp.
I wish Ryan Reynolds didn't have so much hate and disdain for that film because I really liked it. I mean, Mark Strong and
it's good.
He met his wife too. Yeah, I mean it was a terrific. Yeah. I was total in approval for the suit, the CGI suit. I loved it, but yeah, that's a whole another Green Lantern tangent.
Time and Dolly Parton's 9 to 5. Kyle, what is your favorite musical, John Williams or Kenny Loggins music moment?
Well, the If I Could Turn Back Time moment is the best piece of music in the film, but you got to give it to having the balls to do the James Bond credit scene with ashes. The other thing, though, I wish we could have had in this movie is if they would have had X-Force survive the parachute. What I would have loved is like a scene where like X-Force is all together. DMX is X going to give it to you, going to start playing, and then like the bus that super truck just like runs them all over. You know, just
that's good.
But, yeah,
Lacey, what is your favorite music moment?
I think the only one you didn't mention is the aha. When he goes back, when he kind of travels through the water to get to Vanessa, and that little kind of it's just, I think that kind of accentuates the love story of all. And I think that this really was, everybody keeps we've kind of touched on it a few times that it was a February release, so you have the Valentine's Day release. David said that he convinced his girlfriend that it was a love story. And we talked about Morena being, a little bit more developed in this one. And I think that this really was more of the romance, and I think that it does qualify as a Valentine's release, and I think that's part of the reason. I think the music and just her they kind of developed the character a little bit more.
Yeah. That's a great one.
But I also do love the fact that in Once Upon a Deadpool, Fred Savage does absolutely call him out for fridging Vanessa. It's so perfect.
So good. My favorite scene, and when it came in the film, is AC/DC's Thunderstruck when they're getting ready to do the skydiving scene. That's my favorite AC/DC song. One of the favorite intros, guitar solo intros of all time. Absolutely love that song.
Can I ask
guys,
is that the same song? Because it's in my head, it's the same song in Iron Man when he comes out of the plane. He comes.
No, that's Shoot to Thrill.
That's
Shoot to Thrill.
It's
Shoot to Thrill.
Well, right?
Yeah.
It is AC/DC.
What we're saying is that AC/DC is really good for skydiving and/or entrances via flight.
Correct.
Okay.
AC/DC is the official band of the MCU. So
yes, exactly.
Okay.
All right. The next category award we have. Are you sure that wasn't real? The best special effects scene. And I had to throw in the whole prison truck scene here. That's my nomination. The little behind the scenes picture here. That was pretty amazing. But you guys have any other nominations? Kyle, start with you.
I agree with you. This whole scene was phenomenal. This falls to me under the, not only does it fall under the best scene as far as are we sure that wasn't real? Also, the stunts in this particular scene are just
there you
phenomenal.
go, right there, boom. Yeah. What about you, David? Did you have any special effects? Make sure that wasn't real.
I thought all the special effects were really, really great, and I think another one of the music choices that they went with that I don't think we failed to mention here was Enya during this scene right here. I believe it's called like Orinoco Flow or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was terrific. It went slow motion, and it was just slow motion of it all. Slow motion is overused a lot, but I think in this particular scene, it was perfect between the shot with Domino leaving Cable and Deadpool then going through the corridor inside that vehicle. It was just awesome, and then the Goonies reference as well. But yeah, I really love this, and nothing. I don't think anything. I analyze movies a lot, and nothing. I don't think in this movie I was like, yeah, that didn't look real. So I think they, the studio, the artist did a great, fantastic job with the CGI. I mean, it was really good.
What do you think, Lacey? Because I think this also falls into the Fall Guy Award for Best Action Scene as well as the whole prison transport scene.
Well, just going with the special effects in general, I think the fact that they had CGI Colossus in the whole thing. I mean, he just his facial expressions. I mean, even in the first one, it was fantastic, but you can tell. And even when you have like the close-ups on Deadpool, where he has facial movements within the mask. Right. And a lot of times people don't pick up on those because it's just so common nowadays.
Right.
Oh my God, I just said nowadays. I'm an old lady. Because it's just so common that like you don't really think about like special effects as being the stuff that stays in the whole movie. You think of special effects as like laser beams or tornadoes or whatever.
Great call.
Think about the fact that like just some of the, I mean, there was a guy wearing a silver suit with little dots all over it or whatever. But
and Deadpool breaks the fourth wall saying, "Ooh, big CGI fight coming up."
Exactly.
Like
the full characters that had like on screen like foot to head. Deadpool. You got Deadpool. You've got Colossus. You've got Juggernaut. Those
call.
Great special effects. They when you think about it, the best special effects are the special effects you don't realize.
Exactly.
Those are the best special effects. The best makeup is the makeup you don't realize.
And when you watch it behind the scenes on Colossus, and you have the guy standing and stuff, it's fascinating to see how they translate that to screen.
Yeah.
So, good call. All right, the next thing we have is the Star Wars Twin Suns favorite filming location or set piece. And I got two that I'd like to nominate here. First of all, and this was filmed in Vancouver, and there's some great filming locations there. I've actually been to Vancouver and seen a lot of great locations that a lot of shows have been filmed there. And the first one is Deadpool at the Hatley Castle in Colwood, Victoria, in Vancouver Island. That's Xavier's the X-Men school, and then of course the Essex House for mutant rehabilitation was set in the East Lawn building of the Riverview Hospital in Coquitlam. I think that's what it's called. Really cool locations there. I thought that was really nice. But Kyle, did you have any other set locations that you thought was kind of cool?
I've always been a fan of the X Mansion, and I think that wins number one for me. It gives it that classic look. It worked beautifully.
What about you, David?
Same as Kyle. Expansion, anytime they can throw that in, anytime they can stroll through the corridors and open up random doors and see random X-Men characters. I mean, that's fantastic. To see the whole entire cast of Apocalypse in there, that was really cool. And it was like a blink and you miss it type of scenario. And I think the first showing, I looked down at my popcorn or something and looked back up and people were freaking out. I was like, okay, what did I miss? And then on the second viewing, I was like, okay, crap, I missed it the first time around. But yeah.
You are not allowed to have snacks in a Deadpool movie because you have to eat.
Hey, those popcorn buckets. Careful. Those popcorn buckets.
That popcorn bucket's supposed to be pretty exciting.
We haven't talked about those yet. We still need to talk about that.
Lacey, any favorite set pieces, filming locations?
I think I'm going to go back to kind of the same thing I was talking about with the makeup and the costuming and the the special effects is that, scenes that were shot in like the bar and Al's apartment, like if you pause any of those scenes, from the standing sets, you pause that and you look at the amount of detail that the set director or the set decorators put into just like, I mean, if you look at some of the stuff on the back of the walls, it's super dirty and hilarious.
Right.
And I encourage you to watch those on as big a screen as you can get a hold of and pause it and then just go up and be like, what is going on in some of these folks' minds? Yeah, I mean, some crazy stuff.
All right, here's a fun one, guys. If you were a non-speaking extra on set, what scene would you want to be part of? Kyle, you're waving your hand. You're like, I need to know on this right now.
I need to be an extra in Weasel's bar because the banter that has got to be going on between scenes in the
Okay, hold on. How close do you want to be next to Wade when he's peeing himself?
No, I'll be about 4 bar. I want to be about 4 bar stools down, or maybe that one table right behind them, so I'm just out of the way. Plus, at least give me some nose plugs for this Wade smell as well.
What about you, David? I did have a nomination. The prison scene would be a great extra.
So yeah, once again, Kyle stole my thunder again. I want to be a patron in the bar, but in particular, I'd love to be Fat Gandalf. That would be terrific.
Fat Gandalf, that's a good call. Lacey, what scene would you want to be an extra in?
You know what? I'm going to go with the bar as well. And specifically because although the prison scene would be amazing to be in, I've done extra work and I've done extra work in large scenes like that. And it is so boring. Like it's a whole lot of like hurry up and wait. And there's not a lot of, it's legitimately like being stuck in a costume where you're like, okay, no one's even going to see me. I'm just going to be sitting in the very back. So yeah,
I didn't even think of the bar scene. Great call,
yeah,
guys.
The bar scene is really where yeah. I would like to have been present for the audition scenes, but I don't think there would be really an extra.
Yeah,
it would have been fun to be like someone who came in and didn't get chosen,
right?
As far as like an extra or whatever, but yeah, I think that would have been a fun scene to be in.
Okay, we kind of touched on this earlier. I think you did too, Lacey, that we have the Titanic I'm King of the World career moment here. And I think the choice is obvious. It's got to be Ryan Reynolds right now, because not only is Deadpool 2 huge, he's got the gin going on, he's got the Mint Mobile going on. I would say this is Ryan Reynolds' world at the time, and we're living in it. And he also did the, he bought the Wrexham, with Rob McElhenney. It just seems like this was his moment. Can anyone disagree with that?
Have you seen the video of him being awarded the Canadian? It's like the equivalent of being
knighthood.
Yeah, it's the equivalent.
Wait, hold on. Is this where we saw Shania Twain switching out the song from "You're Not Brad Pitt, but You're Not Ryan Reynolds"? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, there's a whole video that like all these famous Canadians like said, "Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan." And it's this amazing thing, and it's just to look at it because Blake filmed it, and
right,
it's just yeah. So yeah, definitely this is Ryan Reynolds. We are in the Ryan. What do you call it? The Renaissance.
The Ryan Renaissance. Yeah, Kyle, you got a thought on this?
Okay.
Say,
as far as
sorry, Lacey, go ahead.
As far as like someone who's like this film did something for their career. Let's face it, Ryan Reynolds has had many things before this. This is not a breakout moment, but
it's not a breakout. That's not the point. He's on top of the world right now,
right?
Of all the success he has.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that Julian Dennison and Rob Delaney, after this film, have gotten so many more they're like this catapulted them into the King of the World situation. So I think there's kind of both ways to look at it.
Okay. I'm not so sure about that. I was looking up Julian Dennison's IMDb. We'll see what he's got coming out. He hasn't had
He's got a few things that he's done.
Yeah, but I don't think he's hit his apex King of the World. Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds' King of the World character moment. It changed his life. He was successful before this, but now he's on a whole other level. Plus, he's married to Blake Lively. That gives you extra bonus points in my book. Plus, you can buy your own soccer team and put them in your own movie. Let's talk about this for a minute. I mean, there are rumors floating around that he has put the Wrexham soccer team in Deadpool and Wolverine at some point. Whether they're like grunt extras or something like that, they are going to be in the movie.
That's awesome.
David, your thoughts? Is at this moment is Ryan Reynolds king of the world?
I keep on. It feels like this Deadpool franchise is an older franchise, but it's now in our reality in the 2020s, and it feels like if this were to come out a decade, 2 decades ago, then I think Ryan Reynolds would truly be king of the world. But as of right now, I don't talk to as many people as I used to when I was younger, and I can't really get like the zeitgeist feel of everything. But to me, in my opinion, yeah, I mean, he's like really up there. Ryan Reynolds has done other projects where they haven't been as mega talked about, mega successful. So I've heard a lot of like, okay, well, there's no real movie stars anymore. It's just these characters that are the stars now that people go to. And I was actually on TikTok last night, and I saw someone do a TikTok about how Ryan Reynolds is a billionaire right now, but it's not because of his acting, and it's not because of the gin that he does. It's because he has a online marketing firm where he does like these micro advertisement spots where he has a team that looks at real-time stuff, make like really quick advertisements, upload them, and that's how he became a billionaire. So, I mean, the guy's a billionaire. He's Deadpool. He was born to play that role. He has the biggest Marvel film since Endgame coming out here in the next week or two. I actually might be able to get a press screening for it. Hopefully that goes through before I go to San Diego Comic-Con and hopefully see him and Hugh walk across the stage right in front of me in Hall H. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, I mean, he's hit that apex where I cannot see how higher he can get in his acting and his producing and his creation. So, yeah, I mean,
Kyle,
here's how high his apex is. I've been making the joke with some of my friends that the real presidential ticket for the next U.S. election should be The Rock and Taylor Swift. Ryan Reynolds, because he's Canadian, he should be the next Prime Minister of Canada.
All right, guys. So we usually have, when we do the Couch Potato Theater Tears, what happens next or the next day. Well, we kind of know. And is the remake, reboot, sequel, prequel Couch Potato Theater worthy? Yes, we've already done the first one, and we're definitely going to be covering the next one. But let's talk about the end credit scene here, guys, of Deadpool 2, because this is really important. We've touched on it a little bit, where he does the time travel. He goes back and kills the merc with a mouth that didn't have a mouth. And if you watch the extended credit scenes, they change it to where, hey, don't be surprised, Wolverine, if you get asked to come back and blah blah blah, because this sets up some important stuff, guys. And as you know, he shoots himself when he's looking at the Green Lantern.
Canada can thank him later.
Yes, this is a big deal because it sets stuff up. Lacey, I want to get your thoughts on this, because as we know, it leads to this.
Right. So my question is, because in the original, so in the regular cut, this conversation didn't happen, right?
Yes.
The end credit scene was very like, boom, that was me. Hi, I'm here. Thanks. Bye. And in the extended scene, you've got him saying, don't get upset, don't get all feisty or whatever, one of these days, your good buddy Ryan might ask you to put on the claws again or whatever, and you're going to want to do it, and this whole thing. So the time between the release of the original film and then the release of the
super duper cut,
I want to know what conversation he had with Hugh Jackman, because it wasn't terribly long. I mean, it wasn't a week, but it wasn't terribly long after this was released, where we actually saw the scene where Hugh was sitting in the.
Kyle is waving his hand. I think he might have an answer for you.
Part of this comes from an interview Hugh Jackman did. Hugh Jackman did an interview, and it was shortly after Deadpool. I think it was when Logan was coming out on DVD. Mm-hmm. And they asked him, the person asked him, would you ever put the claws on again? And he said in a joking fashion, Ryan Reynolds is the only person who I would put the claws on again for. Well, we all know the history of Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds heard that, saw that, took that, and he was running with it. And henceforth, we have him starting the recruitment of Hugh Jackman into Deadpool and Wolverine.
Remember the alcohol commercial they did together with the gin and all that kind of stuff. That was all starting to happen.
Yeah, that's what it was when he was sitting there with the staircase in the background where he's like, okay, fine, I'll do it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
How long ago was the announcement when they did that whole kind of thing where he was in the back eating an apple or something going upstairs? How long ago was that? It feels like 3 years ago.
I think it was right before COVID hit, honestly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as you alluded to earlier, Kyle, that if you didn't see Loki, the TVA, the time enforcement people basically,
time variance.
Was it time variance? What's the
authority? I believe. I think it's time variance authority.
Basically, the people that control time travel and make sure that people don't abuse it and such is introduced. And as we have seen in the trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine, this is how we get Deadpool into the MCU in a perfect open door. Welcome, Marvel Jesus. I want to start with you, David, as we go into, of course, looking forward to Deadpool and Wolverine.
Wait, Kevin, I just got to pause for 1 second before David says, if you look on the one picture, if you're watching on YouTube, you see behind Wolverine's heads, Liefeld feet.
Liefeld feet.
Yes, the reference of Rob Liefeld cannot draw feet to save his life in the comics, yeah.
And if you notice in the picture, their feet are cut off.
Yeah, so we all know the history of the MCU. It's been a little mediocre. It's been a little criticized. It's kind of on, maybe you could say, the ropes a little bit. So that's why Ryan Reynolds is calling himself Marvel Jesus. He thinks he can bring it back, and it's in a very playful, tongue-in-cheek type way. I don't think it's in an egotistical way, but from all accounts, what we're hearing, the first 30 minutes were shown to press, the first 40 minutes were shown to press, wherever in the world, Asia, some big time critics, and some of the more stauncher critics of the MCU and what has occurred after Endgame have universally praised the footage that they've seen. I believe the Asian critics there was one critic that said, I could not stop laughing. We were missing whole segments of dialogue because of the laughter. So that's a great, fantastic sign for Deadpool Wolverine. And I'm sure it's going to be great. And someone made the comment as well, it's on the footage, that this is going to recolorize the MCU, whatever way you want to interpret that. So hopefully and we're all expecting a bunch of cameos, a lot of people, if you could look in that TVA scene right there. And there was actually more footage shown that we haven't seen as a public at CinemaCon in Vegas, this last CinemaCon, where there's a scene of, I think, Thor cradling Deadpool, but I think it's old Dark World footage where Thor is on the planet, and I think they CGI Deadpool in there to make it look like. So we don't know if Chris Hemsworth is actually in the film at all, but there's so many rumors and so many different cameos. I think someone brought up Taylor Swift being in there. Famously, they were all at a New York Jets football game. It was Taylor Swift, Blake Lively, Sean Levy, the director, Hugh Jackman, and Ryan Reynolds. They were all hanging out. That's when all the rumors just exploded. And, of course, everyone thinks that Taylor Swift could be Dazzler, the mutant, or she could be Ladypool. And then some people think Blake Lively could be Ladypool, which would fit because Blake Lively's a great actress. So much anticipation. We're all, I hope we're not overestimating the impact of this movie, but it feels like this is going to be a return to form for the glory years of the MCU. So hopefully it is. It's a Deadpool movie. It's still rated R. It's going to have all the Deadpool action. There's going to be references to Disney and Feige, and it's going to be glorious. And unfortunately and unfortunately, I'm going to San Diego Comic-Con at the time it's released. So I might be one of those rare people in Hall H that haven't seen the film, and they're talking about Deadpool Wolverine.
Get your tickets in San Diego, somewhere to watch it.
It's too late now. It's sold out everywhere. It's too late. Even like a month ago when I thought I was going to be able to go in as press, it was still sold out, so I couldn't even prep for that. I have tickets here in Texas. I don't have any in California, so it's like I'm kind of stuck. But I work with Countdown City Geeks, thankfully, to TED. We get advanced screenings, but for this movie, I'm not sure if they're going to do an advanced screening because it's going to be so big and they want to guard the spoilers and all the secrets for the MCU. So I don't know. I'm super excited. You can tell it's been years and years anticipating this film.
Yeah.
It's fantastic that Disney allowed Deadpool to be in the MCU and stay rated R. I cannot believe this is a reality, but we are here. Yep. This is one of the greatest franchises of all time, I think. So hilarious. So much of a love letter to the comics, so much comic book accuracy here and improvements that they've made. Terrific characters. Bringing Hugh out of retirement to play Wolverine. Oh my gosh, he said he wouldn't do it, like Kyle said, unless Ryan Reynolds drug him out of retirement. He's back. We finally got Wolverine in the blue and the yellow. So excited. So anticipating this. This will make my live action comic book adaptation life right here. So hopefully I'm still alive.
Lacey, I want to get your thoughts on your excitement and anticipation for Deadpool Wolverine, because David didn't share any of that just now. So
right. I mean, I'll try to match his excitement. I can't wait. No, it's going to be amazing. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to hopefully, I've been kind of on the popcorn bucket train. I've been trying, I tried to get the Dune one, couldn't get it. I got both of the AMC and the Regal version of the Ghostbusters one. So I'm hoping to get the Deadpool one. We'll see if I can get it. I don't know. But yeah, I'm definitely going to see it opening day. Likely more than once on opening day because it's a Thursday and I have the time. So I'll probably do the 5 o'clock and the 9 o'clock if that's possible. So yeah.
Awesome. Kyle, your excitement for Deadpool Wolverine. I know you got a ticket, right?
I have my ticket. We must talk about this because we are at a crossroads at the MCU. It's been a rough time since the Infinity Saga ended. Let's be honest. It's been very up and down, unfortunately more on the downside. We've had changeover. We had Bob Iger leave. We had Bob Chapek come in. We had Bob Iger come back and Bob Chapek get kicked to the wherever Eternals has disappeared to.
Captain America, Brave New World, apparently.
Yeah, well, that's very true. But this movie is huge for a lot of reasons. And what perfect timing to have a movie like Deadpool where you can use this film because of the rules it is allowed to break to reestablish your comic book movie universe. And not only do that, bring in characters that you acquired but haven't found a way to properly bring them in yet. And now they're going to. I'm going to tell people right now, if you're expecting to see a lot of Deadpool in the MCU proper in this film, I think you might be a little disappointed. I think it will eventually lead to that, but I think what you're going to see is a lot of Deadpool time hopping around to different places within the Fox cinematic universe in different places that maybe have been kind of established in the MCU to lead into Deadpool being integrated completely into the MCU. But this movie is so important, not just for the MCU, it's important for theaters. The theater market has been down. This movie, I truly believe, could be the $1 billion movie of the summer. I think this
it's cracking $1 billion.
Movie. Yeah. This is a movie people are going to see multiple times because they're going to be laughing so hard, like David said, they're going to miss things the first viewing. People are going to see this multiple times, opening weekend and throughout. This movie is not only important for the MCU, this movie is important for Hollywood. And the fact that it is opening up the same weekend as San Diego Comic-Con, where I think Marvel is going to announce their presence back on the big screen in absolutely huge ways. We've already kind of seen that with the new Captain America Brave New World trailer. This movie is going to be huge. This might be the biggest movie in the modern history of comic book movies. That not only with just what it's going to do, but its importance as well.
Well said. Well said. First of all, I just want to say that something you touched on there, Kyle, is I bought tickets to see it twice on the preview night on Thursday, and I wanted to go to the first showing like at a good theater. And in my hometown here, I've mentioned before, we have crappy theaters, so I'm driving an hour south to see the first showing on a Thursday. It's going to be a 3D showing because if I can see it in 3D, I will. And then I'm going to start heading back home. But on the way back home, I'm going to stop and see it in IMAX 3 hours later. So I'm going to see it twice. And at the AMC, I'm hoping
Nice.
that they have one of hoping that they have the Deadpool popcorn thing there, because I am chasing that. So hopefully it'll
I got
be
a
there.
big tip on that. So I've heard that you don't want to buy the bucket when you go to the movie. You want to buy it ahead of time, because apparently what the word is that what day I think
Well,
the day before
I'm going to be at the theater at least 2 hours early, hoping to buy
well,
it. And then I'm gonna, yeah.
well, okay, so the word out there is that the popcorn bucket is going to be sold at theaters on the 23rd. So that's about 2 days before it drops, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're totally expecting them to sell out completely.
All right. Well, Lacey, I might need your help there. Just saying. But anyway.
I'm with you, man. Like, the thing that really just kind of irks is that 2 days before and the day before and the day of, I went to try and get the Dune one, and everywhere was out. No one had it. No one had it yet. No one had it yet. And then the day that I went, and it was like 9:30 in the morning, and they were sold out.
Yeah.
So
I got lucky at my theater, because I don't think the AMC that I drive to is a huge draw for that type of thing. So hopefully I'll keep an eye out. We'll stay in touch on that. But I did want to mention, because there's so much press on this film right now, I've been paying attention a lot to the media blitz that both Ryan and Hugh have been doing. They started over like in the East and in the Asian markets too. And they've been it's been so much fun watching their media blitz and also playing pranks on each other. There's a funny one where Ryan is looking outside his hotel window, and he set up a funny scene from the movie Australia with Hugh singing in that thing. It was hilarious. They're having there was a water gun fight that broke out on stage at one of the things. It's been a lot of fun. You can tell. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching the build up to this. And now they were in Europe, and now they're slowly starting to head to do their stuff in the US. I cannot wait to see this film. And as a reminder for everyone, please to check out our live reaction show, spoiler reaction show on the 28th here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We'll set out times a little bit later about that. But guys, I want to get your final thoughts on Deadpool 2 as we bring it back to what we're celebrating here. David, first of all, I want to start with you. Thank you for coming on. What your final thoughts on Deadpool 2?
Thank you for having me, Kevin and Kyle. It's always great to talk about films with you guys. Final thoughts is Deadpool 2 is one of the great sequels that exists. Totally rewatchable. It's a movie you can feel safe to buy on digital or physical media, and you know you're going to rewatch it over and over and over again. It's probably one of those sequels that you probably want to put in your rotation every year of rewatching and kind of renewing things, because some stuff you guys brought up, I haven't seen Deadpool 2 in quite a while, which was maybe couple months for me, but I kind of missed and forgot a couple of things that you brought up, and it's like, oh man, I'm just like laughing here. I have to put myself on mute, guys, on this podcast, because I just kept on laughing so much. But yeah, totally rewatchable, totally worth investing in. Buy it on digital, buy it on physical media. I love physical media. Support physical media whenever you can. But yeah, it's one of those sequels, man. All the performances, the costumes, we talked all about it, all the uses of different classical songs out there, the Dolly Parton, the Cher, Enya, I mean, all the jokes, all the fourth wall breaking, quintessential Deadpool. Check it out if you haven't. Hopefully you have already before you listen to us, because we spoiled a lot of it. But yeah, support Deadpool, support everything that Ryan Reynolds does around Deadpool. It's fantastic. Go out and buy those popcorn buckets. I don't really have to tell you that. I know they're going to sell out, but hopefully, yeah, leave one or two for me. Hopefully, I don't know if we have verification on this. There is going to be a Deadpool bucket, right, as well as the Wolverine that's been advertised, I think. I've seen like leaked pictures, and it looks like the Deadpool bucket is going to be Deadpool's head on its side with a big gunshot wound in its head for the popcorn, and another gunshot wound on the neck for like to put like a can of soda or something. So yeah, hopefully that happens and we get our popcorn buckets. If any listeners out there want to reserve some, or Lacey, if you want to reserve one there for me and send it to Texas, that'd be great. But yeah, Deadpool 2, great sequel. no hesitation. It's always a rewatch for me.
And David, where can we find you? Where can people reach out to you?
I am the founder, host, editor, publisher of the Star Wars Stuff podcast. Talk about Star Wars. Obviously, you can see all the Star Wars stuff behind me. Everywhere on every audio app, Apple, Spotify. You can watch us on YouTube. We record all our podcasts on YouTube, and then we just spread the audio out to all the different audio apps. So, yeah, we're everywhere. All the social platforms.
All right, Lacey, final thoughts on Deadpool 2.
It's funny. I always forget how funny this sequel is, how good it is. Because I always love watching the first one, and then I go, well, I mean, I'm going to watch the first one. I might as well watch the second one. And then I watch it, and I realize it's so funny that it's one of the few ones where I really have a toss-up deciding whether I like this one or the sequel better, like this one or the original better. So I've gotten to the point where if I watch Deadpool, I will watch Deadpool 2 as well. And it holds up, and it's just as funny and just as action-packed and just as good as the first one, which is hard to do when you have, the origin story was so good, and it's not typical of origin stories because most of the time origin stories kind of have that lag a little bit, because you got to spend the first 40 minutes of the movie like making the superhero. But because it was Deadpool and it was done flashbacky, whatever, blah, 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 it was so good that it's hard to follow that up. And I think that very few people are able to follow that up, and I think Ryan Reynolds is one of them. So, yay.
All right. Kyle. Real quick, Lacey, where can people find you?
Oh, I am Lacy Pants, not Dead Pants. I changed my name for the thing. Lacy Pants at all the places, the Facebook and the Twitter and the X or the whatever, and Threads and
awesome.
Discord and what's the
Letterboxd.
Letterboxd is a fun one. And then I'm the Lacy Pants on Instagram.
Awesome.
So yay.
Kyle, give us your final thoughts here on Deadpool 2.
It's Deadpool. You can't go wrong. I mean, that's both Deadpool films are some of the funnest comic book movies ever. They're not for kids, but they are so much fun. And they're going to be one of those things that I think it's going to be timeless, and it's Deadpool, and Deadpool's going to be the Marvel Jesus and resurrect it and walk on water and resurrect everything that is the MCU by the end of the month. So it's going to be a beautiful and wonderful thing. Ryan Reynolds has taken over the world with Deadpool, and it's worked out beautifully for him. And I can't wait to see what the future holds of this character, because we have Deadpool Wolverine, putting him in the MCU proper could lead to all kinds of craziness. Looking ahead, we could have a run of Deadpool stingers in the MCU. That would be epic. So that will be fun. But in the meantime, while you're waiting for Deadpool 2, you can find me on social media, on Twitter at AKyleW. You can also find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom. You can find me on Discord also at AKyleW. And guys, I'm going to cut myself a little bit short because I am in Florida and it's getting really electrical outside. And so I think I need to shut a few things down because I've had a couple power flashes here in that. So with that, guys, I'm going to say thank you to David and Lacey for joining us so much. And Kevin, to you, I'm just going to say bye, Yukio.
All right, brother. Love
Thanks,
you.
Kyle.
Thank you so much. Guys, this is the Fandom Podcast Network. And of course, this is Deadpool 2. I'm really excited for Deadpool Wolverine, but Deadpool 2, after rewatching it a couple times for this podcast and remembering, and also had forgotten a lot of the great lines in this film and a lot of character moments. I love the fact that we have a good Deadpool 1 and a good Deadpool 2. And you can debate which one's the best one. I love the fact that, you're not going, yeah, that one sucked and this one was good. They're both good in my opinion. So anyway, thank you, Kyle. Lacey, thank you as always. And David, thank you for coming on, man. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, Kevin. Fantastic. I love this franchise, and you got me thinking right there, right when you said that. Great 1, great 2. If Deadpool Wolverine sticks the landing, is this up there with the greatest trilogies of all time? You think like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Back to the Future? I mean, it's got to be up there, right?
Yeah, that's a great call. Great call. I can't wait. Let's hope
real hard to get that third one. I mean, we've had some serious issues with third superhero films.
Yeah. So let's hope it sticks a landing. I have all the faith that it will. Again, Fandom Podcast Network. You can find us on Instagram and, of course, X. on Fandom Podcast Network and, of course, on Facebook. And please, if you haven't already, please like the video. Please subscribe to us, Fandom Podcast Network, on the YouTube channel. My name is Kevin. Again, I'd like to thank Kyle, Lacey, and David, and hope you guys enjoy Deadpool and Wolverine. Please come back to the Fandom Podcast Network for our live show on, of course, July 28th. We'll give our thoughts on it as well. Thank you, everyone. And until next time, can't wait to see you back on the couch. See you guys. Have a good time.